In our first story, government has announced a contractor is set to start work on the LACMA Link Road in Teshi. And this comes after a week of intense campaign by all the channels on the multimedia platform to get the roads fixed. Information Minister Kwadwo Nkrumah at a news briefing on Sunday said the Dubai-based company DSR Holding Incorporated has offered to commercially fund the construction of the 7.5-kilometer road.
A new contractor, DSR Holdings Incorporated of Dubai, has made a commercial offer to the ministry to provide funding for this and some other projects. And the proposal seeks to source funds from the Development Bank of Belarus and the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development to complete that and other projects. A term sheet has been forwarded from the Roads and Highways Ministry to Finance, which is now to be sent to Cabinet and Parliament for the necessary approvals, because this will then end up being an international financial transaction. An application was made by the Ministry to the Public Procurement Authority to allow for single sourcing of this to DSR Holdings Incorporated to undertake the works. And an approval letter has now been received from the PPA, dated the 20th of June 2019, to allow for sole sourcing to the contractor, subject to the necessary approvals. And this approval is necessary to ensure that adequate funds are made available for works. Now, DSR Holdings, in consultation with the ministry, has mobilized and is heading to site for all the ongoing works that has been going on so far. So there's a chronology of what has been going on so far. I'll share copies with you so that as you also, update your listeners and your viewers, you can update them on the progress of work and the challenges that have come up and how it is being resolved currently.
Well, as we move on, remember the campaign is still on. So when you're sharing your views or making your comments, especially on Facebook, JoyNews on TV, through our Twitter handle at JoyNews on TV, and also as you watch us live on YouTube, make sure you add the hashtag #FixLACMA and also add the hashtag JoyNews. But moving on, many pedestrians still cross the dangerous Adenta-Medina Highway despite the construction of some footbridges along the stretch. On November 8, 2018, residents poured onto the street after a female student of the West Africa Senior High School was killed in a hit-and-run accident. Residents then blamed this and many other accidents on the unavailability of proper crossing aids, mainly footbridges. Komladom reports some pedestrians continue to defy orders of security stewards and subsequently cross the road dangerously, with just a few using the newly constructed footbridges.
The anger of a people triggered by a pedestrian knockdown on a highway notorious for road accidents. The November 2018 violent demonstration will forever be remembered by many as the protesters blocked the road, burned tires and clashed with police as they showed anger at the unavailability of footbridges and other crossing aids. Many had been knocked down, some of them being killed, but the death of a WAS student was one too many for the residents.
I
was knocked down some time ago. They should fix the bridges for us.
My brother was knocked down at the same filling station. Look at this thing. When was it started? Until now, nothing is being done about it.
It was a collective reminder to a nation and a people determined to change a negative narrative that never again should anyone be killed by a speeding vehicle on the stretch. 6 of the abandoned footbridges will be awarded to contractors to complete work and fix ancillary parts for pedestrian use. Today, 4 of the 6 footbridges have been completed and open for pedestrian use. But JoyNews has witnessed a distressing spectacle of people still crossing the road dangerously from one end to another.
It's been more than 20 minutes of observing the flow of traffic on this particular stretch of the Medina-Adenta Highway. But it is surprising to know that I've counted as many as 15 individuals who have abandoned the footbridge and have dangerously crossed over from one side to the other side with traffic flowing on this particular stretch. And this is what has been happening here since this particular bridge was opened. From what commuters here tell me, they say the residents complain that the distance they have to cover from one side of the road to the other side It's too long when they use the footbridge.
Kennedy and Ben are taxi drivers right in front of a tot-to-teen school at Adenta. They tell me why some of the pedestrians have abandoned the footbridge.
The pedestrians say the bridges are too long. It takes them longer to cross the road.
The police but the police there, and overhead from here I could do no one normally
Some of the pedestrians fight police stewards who are stationed along the stretch to ensure the right thing is done.
Some argue and quarrel with the police officer stationed on the stretch. They don't move away to cross dangerously.
The situation in front of the West Africa Senior High School is no different. What would it take to get these pedestrians to simply do the right thing? Ken and Ben have some suggestions.
This is a police phone.
I think the solution is to find some recalcitrant pedestrians and they must be arrested.
A
police reinforcement is required to deal with the problem.
Our cameras captured these individuals shamelessly running across the highway, even worse, talking on the mobile phone. It's time for some drastic action to be taken, lest the riots of November 8, which left several people injured and caught up in the crossfire, will be in vain, and government's investment in the project would have been wasted. Do the right thing. Komladum, JoyNews, Adenta.
Moving on, drinking water that tastes bitter, paying exorbitant prices for water, and the risks of waterborne diseases. And these are just a few of the harsh living realities that residents of Minapa in the Adan East District of the Greater Accra region have to deal with daily. And they depend mostly on rainwater for all their domestic chores and sometimes on the community stream, if often they are lucky. As part of a Safe Water project, Henry Kwesibedu visited the community and brings us the latest.
The source of water is unclean. Anytime my children drink the water, it upsets their stomachs, accompanied with diarrhea.
At Minapa, this water source is a lifesaver. A colored, unclean, and mostly unreliable bitter source of water. But to get even a cup here is a real struggle.
The water here flows occasionally. Sometimes it flows once in 2 or 3 months.
Samuel Tay Gaduga is head teacher of the only school in the community. According to him, the situation is very pathetic as children fall ill and miss school after drinking from this source.
Using here is not hygienic, and even this rain water that you are talking about is only rain season that we get this one. And when the school children take it worries them a lot. At times they fall sick in the school, and we have to invite the parents to come and send them to hospital. The road to the hospital too is very bad.
Every household here has about 4 of these yellow 25-liter gallons for storing water. Helen Donu has 3 children. She pays for every gallon of water, which can barely take care of her many domestic chores.
We travel several distances to fetch other sources of water, which is also unclean. To get potable water, we pay exorbitant prices to tricycle operators. I buy a gallon for 2 Ghana cedis and about 50 Ghana cedis in a month.
50 Ghana krana and sumiti ensure the amaya brepa or krumuhasi.
Tricycles supply water to residents here and other villages. For the drivers, this is good business. Patrick Amano is the only operator in the Minapa area.
1 gallon is 2 cedi. You fetch it 50 pesos at the Togloku, then you come and sell it 2 cedi, which means 1 cedi 50 pesos is the charge. I can get like 150 Ghana cedis, which is 1.5. I favor them. Sometime I'll fetch it for you, then you give me a time, then you get money to pay me. It's not difficult for me, but it's difficult for the person that are buying. But for me, that is good for me because I'm getting something. But the people who are paying the money, they are facing problem. Sometimes it rains small, it make the road so mad, and I can't walk there. So when I can't walk there, I'll be in the house, and there is no water. Maybe you go for somebody who has some small water, then he give you, and you use it for some time. When I get that, I can go there before you get your own.
Okay, so how many trips do you go in a day?
I go like 6 times a day.
The Sustainable Development Goals recognize access to clean water as a basic human need. And help is on the way for residents in communities like Aminapa, because Promasido Ghana Limited, as part of activities to climax its 20th anniversary, cut sod for the construction of a borehole for residents. Management of the company says this is one of 20 boreholes which will be constructed for other deprived communities across the country.
A brand being existent in Ghana for 20 years, we thought it wise to give back to the community. As I always say, we are not just here to do business, but we're also here to give back to the society where the society form an integral part of the brand that we are building. Yes. So Kabbalah 20, this is one of our initiatives to give back to the society by giving 20 boreholes to the 10 regions in Ghana. And this is the first place that we've chosen to offer our...
Chief of Aminapa, Nene Amate Kole, who was grateful for the kind gesture, wants management of Promasido Ghana Limited to hurriedly construct the borehole to ease the plight of its people.
The water there, we went to Alavanyo to fetch the water before drinking or bathing. From here to Alavanyo is about 2 baths before you go fetch the water. So with the suffer, sometimes from 3 o'clock evening, we will move for Alavanyo. Before you fetch the water, you come. By 6:30, you move from here to Pute, to the school. So with the suffer, it not be small. The cowbell, now they bring the change, some change, plenty change come. So now if they do the hole for us, now they will be free. So everything will come good, everything will change. I will thank them so that they are grateful. God will help them to do the thing they say they do for us. God will help them to do for us.
For Joy News, Henry Kwesi Badu's report.
Well, away from the story, the Information Minister, Kwadwo Nkrumah, has hinted the media budget review will focus on revenue mobilization. The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, is expected to present the media budget review on Monday, July 29. It is not clear if Mr. Ofori-Atta will be asking for more money, but cut down on projects or introduce new taxes. But ahead of the presentation, Mr. Nkrumah says government will lay out ways of generating more revenue to augment its resources in order to fund outstanding programs and policies.
Now, the administration believes that it's steadily executing its commitment to Ghanaians and that this mid-year budget review will afford it the unique opportunity to take a second look at revenue availability to execute the remaining programs, key among them being infrastructure. And that's why revenue mobilization, which was highlighted in the 2019 budget, will remain a key feature in the mid-year review. The objective will be to ensure that government mobilizes enough resources to fully deliver on its outstanding commitments. It's refreshing to see the vigor with which Ghanaians have responded to the President's call to be citizens and not spectators. And as a result, you note that Ghanaians always call on government to deliver on this or deliver on that now. I'm sure you see all the hashtags, deliver on this now, deliver on that now. This same vigor will hopefully be translated into our revenue mobilization efforts to ensure that we fully fund and fully execute the outstanding programs in the medium term. Additionally, government is also commencing efforts to cut avoidable expenses. Key among them is ongoing work on cutting out capacity charges for power that we don't consume.
Away from the budget, private broadcasting stations in Ghana have launched a campaign urging Ghanaians to rise up and oppose government's plan to introduce conditional access controls as part of Ghana's digital migration program. In a public service broadcast airing on member stations, the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association argues such a technology will have an adverse effect on the fundamental right of Ghanaians to access free-to-air digital TV. There's more in the following report.
After years of delays, Ghana is expected to migrate its broadcasting from analog to digital later this year. It will lead to the provision of better signal quality, high-definition services, and an increase in the capacity of transmission networks. Giba says, whilst this is welcome news, government's approach to implementing it, it argues, will lead to stifling of citizens' fundamental rights to access radio and TV content.
The millions of digital TV sets already certified by the NCA, which have been purchased and installed at individual homes, offices, shops, stores, warehouses, and public places across the country, which are currently receiving digital TV programming, will abruptly stop receiving free-to-air digital TV unless access is enabled by the Ministry of Communications' chosen controller or operator through the opening of a conditional access encryption key. Even so, you can't receive free-to-air programs unless you acquire the ministry's prescribed CA control decoder in addition.
In a campaign video, Giba says other countries implementing the ITU-inspired broadcasting switch did not include a requirement for access control and urge Ghanaians to wake up and reject it.
Reject conditional access for free-to-air TV now. We are all excited for TV to go digital. Let's make sure we get it right. Free-to-air TV broadcasting must remain free as legally classified and authorized by the NCA.
But why should you be concerned?
It is your right, our right, to choose what programs or channels to watch. Free-to-air broadcasting through an intermediary content blocking mechanism such as the CA will make mass media communication vulnerable.
Giba says Ghanaians should only embrace what is good for us as a people and in accord with the law.
And later today, JoyNews begins the campaign to demand a freer media space, a society in which journalists like myself, media organizations and other players are able to practice without any fear or favor. And the launch of that campaign takes place live this afternoon at 3 p.m. on the JoyNews channel. And this is what you need to do. You can join the conversation as and when. It becomes very much interactive and at your convenience on social media platforms we have, using the hashtag Defend Media Freedom and also add the hashtag JoyNews. Well, that'll be it for the latest news headlines we have in the studio. We'll do a news review. We'll look at the front and back pages of the newspapers as well as the center spreads of all those we have, the dailies right here. Stay with us.